a deadly game of power, betrayal, and greed, hidden beneath the surface of Europe's most lucrative drug empire. A name whispered in fear and respect, the Mocro Mafia was no ordinary gang. It was an underworld empire built on blood and cocaine. It started with a single act of deception, a missing shipment, a betrayal so daring that it set off a chain reaction of violence, revenge, and one of the most brutal gang wars Europe had ever seen. At the heart of it all was a question: who had the audacity to steal from the Mocro Mafia? Was it a rival gang, a desperate outsider, or someone within their own ranks? What followed was a relentless storm of assassinations, betrayals, and paranoia as once loyal allies turned into bitter enemies. The power structure within the Mocro Mafia began to crumble, and with each body that fell, the truth edged closer to the surface. Stay with us as we unravel a story of unimaginable greed, deadly ambition, and the rise and fall of three of the most feared men in European crime: Ridouan Taghi, Mocro R, and Saïd R. This is the true story of the Mocro Mafia. To understand the depth of this crime, we must go back to the origins of the Mocro Mafia, a term given to the Dutch-Moroccan criminal network that dominated the drug trade in the Netherlands and Belgium. It all began in the early 2000s when a group of young men, mostly from Amsterdam's underprivileged neighborhoods, found a way into the highly lucrative cocaine business. At first, they were small players working for older, more established criminals. But soon, these young men, charismatic, street-smart, and ruthless, realized they no longer needed middlemen. With direct connections to drug cartels in South America, they carved out their own empire. What started as small-time deals quickly turned into multi-million-dollar operations. From Rotterdam to Antwerp, and even reaching into Spain, the Mocro Mafia was thriving. But with rapid success came inevitable power struggles. The drug trade wasn't just about money, it was about control, reputation, and the unspoken law of the streets. The higher they climbed, the more dangerous the game became. Then, in 2012, everything changed. A shocking heist in Antwerp became the catalyst for one of the bloodiest gang wars Europe had ever seen. A shipment of 200 kilograms of cocaine mysteriously disappeared from the port. For the Mocro Mafia, this was no ordinary setback. It was an outright declaration of war. The shipment was worth millions, and in the world of organized crime, debts like these weren't forgiven. Someone had stolen from them. Someone had dared to challenge their dominance. At first, fingers pointed to rival gangs. Then, whispers of an insider job began to circulate. Was it a betrayal from within? Was someone trying to cut their own path to power? Suspicions grew, and trust within the organization began to erode. The tension was palpable. Paranoia spread like wildfire. Once loyal allies turned into wary adversaries, each man wondering who would strike first. Retribution was swift and brutal. Within months, bodies began to appear across Amsterdam, Antwerp, and even Marbella, Spain. Some were found executed in their cars, others were gunned down in broad daylight. The streets became a battlefield. Restaurants, nightclubs, and even family homes were turned into crime scenes. No one was safe, not even those who thought they had protection. The most gruesome murder was that of Najib, the accountant Bobo. He was a man who knew too much, a man who handled money and secrets. His execution wasn't just a message, it was a spectacle. A reminder to all that betrayal had only one price: death. But instead of scaring off challengers, it only escalated the war. Rivals fought back with equal ferocity, and soon, the streets were painted in blood. As the war waged on, the police intensified their crackdown, tapping phone lines, tracking financial transactions, and uncovering a conspiracy far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. What had started as a single missing shipment had spiraled into a full-scale underworld war, leaving behind a trail of destruction. Then, an unexpected breakthrough came from an unlikely source, a former insider. He had once been a trusted lieutenant, a man who knew the inner workings of the Mocro Mafia. But fear had pushed him to the edge. The killings, the constant paranoia, the realization that even the most loyal could be marked for death, it had become too much. Desperate for a way out, he approached the authorities with shocking revelations. He spoke of encrypted messages, hidden bank accounts, secret meeting places, and, most crucially, the identity of the mastermind behind the missing cocaine shipment. His testimony was the key investigators had been waiting for. The truth was staggering. It wasn't an outside gang, nor was it a lower-level trader. The betrayal came from the very top, a leader who had orchestrated his own gang's downfall in pursuit of absolute power. He had watched as his men turned on each other, eliminating threats while he remained in the shadows, growing stronger. But who was it? Who had double-crossed the Mocro Mafia? In a stunning turn of events, authorities uncovered evidence pointing directly to one of the Mocro Mafia's most feared figures, Ridouan Taghi. Once thought to be the untouchable kingpin, Taghi had played a dangerous game. He had staged the heist, secretly stolen the cocaine, and let his own men turn against each other while he consolidated power in the shadows. It was a masterstroke of manipulation, until the evidence surfaced. The tapes, the messages, the bank transactions, it all pointed back to him. The man everyone feared had, in reality, been the one pulling the strings all along. His capture in 2019 in Dubai was an international operation, bringing an end to his reign. But even behind bars, his influence lingers. The Mocro Mafia continues to operate, its structure shifting like a hydra. Cut off one head, and another rises in its place. The question remains, who will step into the power vacuum left behind? The story of the Mocro Mafia is far from over. While Taghi's arrest marked a major victory for law enforcement, new players are always waiting in the wings, eager to seize control. With millions of dollars still flowing through the criminal underworld, one thing is certain: this battle is not yet won. The streets still whisper the names of those who have fallen, and somewhere in the shadows, a new kingpin is waiting to rise. What do you think? Will law enforcement finally dismantle the Mocro Mafia? Or is this just another chapter in a never-ending cycle of crime and retribution? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most shocking crime stories.